Hello, I'm Dr. Hannah Capon. This is Luna, and I am founder of Canine Arthritis Management, an online educational resource for owners of arthritic dogs. So, I'm here to talk to you about lifestyle changes, and today we're going to tackle the feeding and water bowl, and whether to raise them or not. Most people feed out of bowls, might be once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, and generally they're left at floor height. Just pop their food in and pop it on the floor. I want to challenge you whether that is suitable for your dog. So let's first of all think about the posture of a dog. A dog standing is going to carry 30% of their body weight for each forelimb and 20% for each hind limb. Thanks, Luna. Now, when they lean forward and try and hit the floor with their nose, with their mouth to eat out of the bowl, there's going to be a massive weight shift forward. They're leaning forward. More weight is going to go through those forelimbs. So that's more load through the shoulders, the elbows, the carpi and the digits. Okay? Now, a dog's got to have strength and stamina and balance to be able to do that. And most dogs are able. Let's get a little bit complicated. What about if we have shoulder arthritis, elbow arthritis, carpal wrist arthritis, and we're asking the dog to lean forward to transfer more body weight through those joints? That could be quite uncomfortable for them. One of the complications of arthritis is joints lose their ability to flex and extend as well as we'd like them to. They become quite restricted in their range of motion. My elbow has no restrictions. But if I had elbow arthritis, I might find that that is all that I can do. So if the elbow isn't able to bend, or maybe the shoulder isn't able to bend, then other parts of that body is going to have to work harder to reach down to that floor. So it's going to become more difficult for that dog. Some dogs, and I've seen this a lot, cope with unflexible joints by widening their forelimbs so that they can get to the ground. So instead of going this way, they part their forelimbs so they can get to the ground easier. Now, is that stable? Are we risking a slip hazard there? We've got our limbs further placed apart. Are we going to slip out? Think about it. So, now let's think about if we had arthritis in the hind limbs. Does this apply still? Yes, it does. Because if we have arthritic joints in the hind limbs and the dog finds it uncomfortable to bear weight through those limbs, what they will do over time is they will shift that body weight to the forelimbs, into their forequarters, their neck, so through the back, into their shoulders, into their neck. Those parts of the body are going to have to work harder because the dog's offloading those hind limbs into the forequarters. And over time, muscle mass develops and they get tighter and they get developed and they get a big neck and their neck gets shorter and they're a bit like this. So they have less flexibility to be able to bend, extend and reach down to the floor. So yes, it does still apply to dogs that have arthritis in the back end as well. What we would suggest you do is think about whether your dog will be more comfortable at that most pleasurable part of their day by having their bowl raised slightly off the floor. Now, one thing that we do need to talk about is there are some large breeds that are more predisposed to something called gastric dilation volvulus or bloat. And there has been a couple of studies that suggest that there is potentially a greater risk for these dogs developing that condition, which is a worry, if they're fed at height. So I would definitely say now, if you've got a very large breed dog, say a Great Dane, say Bernese Mountain Dog, these large breeds, then just think about it and whether you need to only raise it slightly from the floor, not as high. Water bowls are fine, but definitely with feeding, it's something to think about. Just on that note, to let you know, there was a study that supported that raising feed bowls could increase the risk of gastric dilation volvulus or bloat, but there was also another study that said that they didn't actually find it increased. So it's not set in stone. However, bear it in mind. So let's think about this. We've got a dog that we know is actually having a little bit of difficulty reaching the floor to reach their food bowl or their water bowl. So you're thinking, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to raise it so it's going to be more comfortable for them. How high do you raise it? Well, there isn't a set height, but what we believe is likely more comfortable for our dogs is between shoulder and elbow. So what I suggest you do before purchasing anything is get an old pile of magazines or an old pile of books or an old box or whatever it is, and raise their bowl and just start watching them and how comfortable they are eating or drinking. What you're looking for is a nice flat back, for the neck not to have to dip down to the floor so greatly, so that they've just got this what we call a neutral position. They're comfortable, they've got a nice stance, they're not having to widen to reach the floor. That you've got a comfortable dog. There's no leg tremors, they're not half eating their food, walking away and coming back. They are able to stand there for a period of time comfortably to enjoy eating their meal or drinking their water. Okay? Other things that I want you to also think about before kind of leaving it there is the surface around the feeding station. Many dogs, especially when drinking water, will spickle it everywhere. So most people will put these feeding stations on easy clean floors, which are slippery. So if you're asking your dog to stand on said flooring to enjoy eating their meal, enjoy having a drink, but you've actually asked them to stand on a slippery surface, think twice. It might be wise for you to put a non-slip mat underneath that feeding station so that when they're standing there, they've got grip. Cool! I will see you for the final installment next time. Bye!